So when I was 21, I took a whole bunch of psychedelic drugs, and I ended up in a bit sort of like what you would call a psychosis. And so I ended up in this sort of like dream world where I was like experiencing things that weren't actually happening. And I went to the mental hospital. Like they started getting kind of scary, and I went to the mental hospital looking for help, and they basically refused to help me. Like they're like, okay, you can either like take the like you can either like take these drugs or like no I okay so they no they like it's such a blurry fucking story, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But there was like a couple instances where I went to the mental hospital looking for help. And one time they're like, okay, we can lock you up, you can take these drugs, and you can not do drugs or smoke weed. And I'm like, I'll go even crazier if you do that to me, right? And then so I went back another time when things got even scarier, and I'm like, okay, I'll take whatever drugs you want. I'll do whatever. And they refused to help me. And they didn't even tell me like what was wrong with me. They didn't like if somebody would have just told me that I was experiencing a drug-induced psychosis and that most people come out of it and that um, if I get into any trouble, they could lock me away for the rest of my life. If they would have told me that, I would have just wrote it out, kept my freaking nose clean, and wrote out my psychosis. But they didn't tell me that, and I didn't know what was going on. And I was experiencing, like, I was hearing weird voices, I was seeing weird things, like, things were really scary. And
How old are you at this
I
time?
started, pardon?
How old are you at this time?
I was 21.
21. Okay, yeah. Go on.
22-ish.
Yeah, yeah.
And, what was the last thing I said?
You would have kept your nose clean and you would have just ridden it out.
Yeah, and so, but I didn't get told that, and I was like, I really felt that I needed help. Like, when you're tripping, you need somebody sometimes you need somebody to ground you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have that. And so I started like committing like these like small crimes as like a cry for help, like shoplifting, dying, dashing, shit like that. And when I would get caught, they wouldn't give me the help that I needed. They would just at most they would just lock me up for a couple weeks, feed me these drugs, and then let me go. At which point I would stop taking the drugs and just go back into psychosis. And it eventually got to the point where I ended up in Montreal in
Dan, your phone's up here.
in the middle of winter, and I was about to freeze to death. And I was trying too hard to find a shelter or anything like that. And so they sorry, so I I was I was trying to like really get like the help that I needed. You know what I mean? And so and I was about to die. I was about to freeze to death. So I took a knife and I tried to hijack a taxi to try and get back to Toronto. I figured, you know, like if I get caught, then you know, like maybe I might, then I'll like survive the winter. I'll go to jail for the rest of the winter and I won't freeze to death, or maybe I might get the help that I need. You know what I mean? And but when I got found NCR, and I had no clue what that meant. I didn't know that it means that they can lock you up for the rest of your life if they if they want to. And um, so that led to um, me eventually escaping from the mental hospital, and I came out of psychosis, and I was fine for about a year. But then I got back into drugs and went back into psychosis and got back into mental hospital. And they, I never really got like the help I was looking for, you know, like just someone to help me through my psychosis, to help me understand what was going on. And eventually, after this, and these drugs that they were giving me, sometimes they would give me such a freaking high dose that it was like torture. Like I would be screaming and bashing my head off the wall, like freaking the fuck out, because of these drugs that they were giving me. And they would just blame it on like some sort of mental illness when it was really the intensity of like these drugs. Like they're, if you give somebody too much of a dose of it, like it's very uncomfortable. It's very, very unpleasant. It's like torture. And then, but that's not even the worst of it. Like, that's not even the worst thing they've done to me. When eventually I witnessed, like people who were like so zonked out that, they were like laying in a chair drooling, handcuffed to a chair for over 10 years, just sitting there totally zonked out, like don't even know where they are. And I'm just like, oh my god, like what if that fucking happens to me? You know what I mean? Like, and I was so scared. And eventually, and the drugs that they were giving me were making me like hear voices in my head, like homicidal voices that would say weird things as I would fall asleep. And it didn't start until they started me on this specific drug, and then it went away when I ran away and went off that specific drug. So then when they caught me, and I went back into these mental health workers' custody, I was like, no, I'm not taking these drugs anymore. I'm not letting, I'm gonna freaking ride out my psychosis. I'm gonna freaking like get better on my own. I'm not gonna let guys keep messing with the chemicals in my brain. And they really didn't like that. Um, and they started like really agitating me and targeting me and trying to piss me off. And I got scared. I was so scared of like ending up like those guys who were like comatose in those chairs. Um, I I was afraid of hearing those homicidal voices in my head again. Like I was much more scared of the medication than I was scared of any psychosis that I was enduring otherwise. And I got really, really scared and desperate, and I took a woman hostage to try to escape. And you know, I just want to say, like, I've done this corrupt system that I've been victimized by has put me into some really scary and desperate situations. And I've done some really scary and desperate things to escape from these situations. But I really don't deserve what happened to me next in this story. They sent me to a place called Waypoint, where I'm currently at now. And they put me in a room and they starved me. They froze me. They starved me to the point where I had to eat my own feces to survive. Um, they froze me to the point where I had to urinate on myself to keep warm. And they would come into my cell numerous times a week and beat me. And this lasted 2.5 months. And then when I made it to safety to a different unit in the same facility, I started, I called the police. The police wouldn't help me. I, um, I, um, I called the MP, Jill Dunlop, and she told me to conduct like have the staff do an internal investigation. And they basically went through, made sure everybody got their story straight and covered up the whole thing and gave me a piece of paper saying, "You're full of shit." And then I was like, what am I gonna do with this? I tried contacting Jill Dunlop again, and she completely ignored me. I have all the steps that I've taken, all the videos written down. I spent like a year. They put me on a unit where I was locked in my cell about 23 hours a day. On a unit where people are very low functioning, which is far from what I was, or still am at the time. And like just the way they were able to use my actions that I had done to try to escape from these horrible situations as grounds to do whatever they wanted me and treat me as bad as they could. They would give me this weird thing that they do that I call letdown therapy, where they get your hopes up about something and make you anticipate it for a while, just to let you down last minute and crush your spirits, and they do it over and over and over again. They were treating me so badly. It was just so unfair. I tried calling like advocates, like I tried calling lawyer after lawyer. They did nothing to help me. And then once COVID hit, the stress got even worse. And I had a nervous breakdown. I started freaking out, and instead of trying to calm me down, they did a bunch of things to piss me off even more and to flare me up. And they aggravated me to the point where I couldn't stop screaming and bashing my limbs off the walls. And then they took me in that state and brought me to court and took away my consent capacity, my ability to consent to medication. And by the time I came out of that state, I already lost my ability to consent to medication. Then they left me in secure isolation, coming out once every 4 days in wrist and ankle restraints for an entire year until the decision to medicate me was finalized. And then once the medication, they started giving me the medication, I was like seizuring, like totally freaking comatose, like laying there just like convulsing and shit for like months on end. And they didn't do anything to stop it, and they just heard me screaming and crying in horrible agony because the medication was so horrible. And They heard me crying and screaming in horrible agony all day, every day. And they did nothing to help me. And my hygiene went from very incredible to like absolutely horrible. And the doctor was like, "Oh, look, he's doing so much better now. Oh, yeah, we need to keep medicating him." And nobody stuck up for me. Nobody stood up for me. They just sat there and allowed it to happen. And then they, I just eventually, like, I was able to function a little bit, but I would just cry and scream in horrible agony all day, every day. And they would just like accuse me of faking it, saying that I was just doing it for attention and tell me to shut up. And and then um, um, and then my mom was like, "Okay, we need to change you to a different medication. This shit's fucked up." My mom was like, she was my what they call a substitute decision maker, so she was able to actually make decisions at the time. And she's like, "No, I'm not letting you guys continue to give him this stuff. He's not well at all." And so they changed me to a different medication called Risperdal Consta, which made me have these constant thoughts of violence that would never go away. Like I would wake up to the thought of violence and it would stay in my head all day, every day until I would go to sleep. And I'd have this voice in my head telling me to kill people. And my mom would, and it got worse and worse to the point where I was literally screaming bloody murder. And my mom was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm not letting you guys give him these freaking medications no more. They're messing him up really bad." And so they took me off the medication for 2 months, and my hygiene recovered. My thoughts were like coming back. I was doing really well. Um, 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 like the voices in my head that were telling me to kill people were starting to go away. And then the doctor didn't like that, and he took my mom. He removed my mom as a substitute decision maker, and he started putting me on this same drug that was causing seizures and shit. And I guess my body was used to the drugs at that point, so the seizures weren't so bad, and they started to go away, and became like slightly sort of able to function, which I am now in this state right here before you. And yeah, and and so during this time, I've I've sent letters to like everybody you could possibly imagine, like um, the Ministry of Health, the College of Physicians. I had an investigation done by the College of Physicians. They didn't even speak to me once, and they totally dismissed everything. I had an investigation done by the Ombudsman. Again, I don't know what kind of crappy ass job they did, but they dismissed everything. Didn't even find it. It weren't even able to prove one thing that I said, which is ridiculous because I have proof like in my possession. Um, I contacted the Human Rights Tribunal. I sent letters to like literally everybody you can imagine, like um, the Ministry of Defense, the United Nations, the Queen, uh, 50 of the richest people I could find. all the politicians, like the Prime Minister, Ducharme, the Mayor of Pantang, Green Party, the NDP, all my favorite celebrities, the 50 biggest police stations in Canada, biggest religious organizations in Canada, which actually was a little bit helpful. They they uh, they referred me to the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, which assigned me a worker and they've been trying to help me. They haven't been very successful in anything, but they've been trying. Um, I contacted the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, the United Way, Amnesty International, the Canadian Mental Health Association. I sent letters to 24 members of the House of Commons. I sent out an SOS letter to 100 local businesses. I sent letters to all the. I started putting together an activist movement called Not So Crazy After All, to sort of combat injustice, to get my story heard and to combat injustice within the mental health system. And I sent letters to all the universities and colleges to try and see if they're willing to help me get this movement up and going, because it's very difficult to start an activist movement from behind locked doors. And that's pretty much where I'm at now.
Just some clerical catch-up issues. The very first medication that they had you on that you heard voices, which one was that one? Do you remember?
It was Abilify.
And the one that you gave you seizures, which one was that one?
Paliperidone.
Now, how can we help you? What can be done? You've obviously tried writing letters. You're building a website. What is the story now? How can we help you?
How can you help me? I guess just helping me get this story heard and getting this movement up and going. Right now. We're putting together a website.
Who's we?
Pardon?
Yeah, who's we? Go ahead.
Me and a few of my friends.
Okay.
And right now, one of our goals is to make Not So Crazy After All keychains and bumper stickers and buttons, and give them away for the minimum of the $10 donation towards the cause. We want to have that set up online so that we can do that. We just want to get the word out about my story and see and like combat any stories that are like this, and try to help people. And there's probably like many people like me, or people who are in even worse situations, that are trying to get the story heard, and they're just being told that they're just being silenced and being told that they're crazy, and it's really corrupt, and it's quite disturbing.
What would you say your mental state is like right now? Are you a threat to society? Are you violent, non-violent?
Yes, I am a threat to society and I'm violent, because the medication is still giving me thoughts of violence, like a voice in my head telling me to kill people. It's I can't be around people without having an intense desire to attack them. Like, it's not so intense now, but like, it's like I can't be, like, when I come out for seclusion relief, isolation, which like relief from isolation, when they bring me out for like an hour or one, once a day usually, Um, the whole time I'm thinking about attacking people, and this never happened to me when I was unmedicated.
Is there a sign? Is there something you can do to get off that medication? Are they putting a carrot in front of you that can help you manage that? Do you feel as though if you're off the medication, you'd mentally recover?
Yes, I feel like it would probably take years. I would probably go into a psychosis, and it would take years to recover, most likely. But I do feel that I would eventually recover. Because last time I went off the medication, it took me a year to come out of psychosis. But I was fine for 2 years after that. But they made me look like I wasn't fine because they were abusing me so badly that I was freaking out. But I really was not in psychosis.
And the first question was, are they putting something before you that would enable a path for you to get off these medications? Are there performance values?
No, they're trying very strongly to make sure that I never get off these medications.
So given that you would be there for life then, potentially.
Exactly.
Sorry, I interrupted you. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh no, I don't remember what I was trying to say now.
So you're in a catch-22 then. You cannot get off the medication because they won't let you because you're not getting better, but it's the medication that is keeping you in the mental state that you are that will not let you get off the medication.
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot advocate for yourself. Your mom can no longer advocate for you.
They've removed her as a substitute decision maker, so she has no say in my medication.
So you are now trapped by the state or by the government at this point in time. I'm trying to think as well if there's anything that can be done.
Legally at the moment, like the most I can do is go to court and try to win my consent back, but these doctors are very good at lying. They're very good at making the truth out to be something it's not. Like they're really good at disguising the truth. And
Have they lied in court before?
many times.
Can you give an example of that, please?
One example, the doctor claimed that when I took the hostage, he claimed that I tried to kill her, which I didn't do. I went to court. I was found guilty in court for assault and taking a hostage, and I didn't get found. They didn't charge me for trying to kill anybody. Like I never, like, they he lied and said, oh, like my hygiene is so much better when I'm on the medication, which is bogus because my hygiene was perfect when I was off the medication. Now it's like really bad. Like I hardly brush my teeth or shower. Like, and I have staff that have witnessed these things that I'm saying, but they're afraid to go to court and say, no, yeah, we see the medication is messing Chris up. It's messed up his hygiene and stuff like that. And other things that the doctors lied about. Back when I was in isolation and when I was coming out in wrist and ankle restraints for an hour once every 4 days, I was doing everything I could to calm myself down. And they had this camera on I would spend months not coming out on end, not coming out because I was too angry to be around people and have them grab me and give me, because I had PTSD. I had PTSD when being put in restraints, and they would give me PTSD, and so I had I couldn't cover my camera with paper because they would take away my ability to have paper. So I covered it with the one thing that they couldn't take away from me, which was my own feces, unfortunately. Um, but it was just on the camera. It wasn't anywhere else. It was just on the camera. And after a few days, it stopped smelling. Um, but the doctor was like, "Oh, his room always stunk. There was feces all over the walls, all over the place. Oh, it was horrible." He said like since I've been on the medication, I've been using like the recreation room in the gym, which is totally untrue. I haven't used the recreation room in the gym since well before they started medicating me. And
So he's
probably some more lies that I can't think of off the top of my head right now.
so that's incriminating to lie in court like that. And
Yeah, but the thing is they have this thing to get a where they get away with it.
okay, I don't know if you want this to be on the record or off the record, but could I ask your doctor's name?
Dr. Hudson.
Dr. Hudson. And you are in Waypoint in Ontario, right? Central Ontario, right now, Canada?
Yeah.
And the date right now is August 1st, 2023. Can I have you spell your name, please?
Christopher.
Yep.
CHRISTOPHER. Last name Ducharme. DUCHARM as in monkey. E.
Now, how long have you been in these facilities?
I've been locked up now for almost 5 years straight.
5 years. And you started when you're 21, so you're 26 now?
No, I've been involved with this whole ordeal since I was 21, but I've been locked up continuously for the past 5 years. I'm 31 now. This has been an ongoing 10-year long thing.
Jeez. And would you be, I don't know if I will get permission from the staff, would you be able to share names of the staff that would be able to corroborate your story?
I can give you their names, but I don't know if they'd be willing to.
Right. I understand that. And I think we'll keep this part of the interview private, but it just helps us know where we might be able to go, who we might be able to talk to if we wanted to flesh out the story a little bit.
Yeah. There's I don't know any last names.
That's
I
fine.
know like one last name, one person with the last name, but I would have to like think about this and like.
That's fine. That's
and like.
Absolutely fine. I'm not here to pressure you. I'm just here to be as thorough as we can. Okay? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that covers it for the moment. I'd like to share this video with a colleague of mine and then see where we go from there. Obviously, the first part of this interview are you comfortable making it public and me sharing it with others? Minus the information with at the very end with the names of individuals, unless I have your permission.
Okay.
Okay. Is it okay for me to share the doctor's name with others, or would you like to keep that private?
Oh, you can say that.
Okay. 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 Would you be able to spell the doctor's name?
I'm not entirely sure. I think it's Hudson.
And roughly how old is he?
I don't know, 50?
50. Okay. And you've only had the one doctor? You've not had other doctors?
In the past, about 4 years, I think. It's been the same doctor.
Is it possible, since you're having issues with your prescriptions and how things are being handled, to ask for a different doctor?
I've tried many times. they're refusing.
Okay. Okay. Well, I don't have much more that I think I can say or do, and I'm sure it's not a pretty. Those aren't pretty words for you to hear. But for sure, I'm gonna share this with a couple colleagues, and then I'll see. I mean, there's not much I can do other than share this information, right? Get the word out as best as we can, and then see what we can move from here. Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else you wanted to say?
1 second. They're opening my door for some reason.
Okay.
They're giving me lunch.
Okay. Oh, you're in your room right now?
Yeah. Hey.
How are you?
I'm just chilling. How are you?
Okay. Damian,
Yes.
don't forget the hoses need to be done.
I know.
Okay.
Are you outside on the, be careful the lid keep open.
I'm in a Zoom. Yeah. Alright. What are you saying?
Is there anything else you would like to share? Anything else that might be missed, or any call out words of wisdom, or anything you just want to reach out to the world and say?
To anybody who's going through this, going through anything similar, I just want to say, like, don't try to get in trouble as a cry for help. It will only make things worse. I will give them an excuse to lock you up and hold you potentially even indefinitely. If you're going through psychosis, keep your nose clean and ride it out. And that's all I can think of right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are very heroic words, very powerful words, and I appreciate you sharing them with the experiences that you have. Thank you.
So what do you think about this whole story?
It's a great story. I'm sorry that you had to live through it. It's not fun, you know? I'm sure it's the kind of thing that books are made of and movies are built from. It's tough. I can't imagine. Like, there's nothing you can do. You're locked up in a room all the time. You have no privacy. You have no control of your own life, and there's nothing you can do to escape. You are a animal caught in a cage, and any animal caught in a cage long enough will lash out. And so in many ways you can't be blamed for being stuck there for a decade of your life in these circumstances. I think most people would react the same. It reminds me of a little study or a little questionnaire that was done where most psychiatrists, psychologists, and doctors of that cloth would never want to be admitted to their own facility, in part. Well, I won't say the reasons why. I'm sure they know. And it's a sad state of affairs that you've been subject to it, and that you seem to have your head together. You just need the opportunity to get yourself out from under the thumb. That's my 2 cents, but I'm not a professional. But
like,
yeah,
I have the ability to create the illusion that my head is together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, mentally, like, I can't even have a daydream. Like, mentally, like, I can communicate and I can talk, but, like, I can't really think too much. And, like, I can't read, like anything that involves brain power, I just can't do it.
Yes.
And like I said, I have like this voice in my head telling me to kill people. I can't be around people without having a desire to attack them. Like it's yeah, like people tell me all the time, "Oh, you sound fine." It's like, I'm not fine. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was much better off medication.
Yes. And it's tough to make a determination when you're in the circumstance that you are, right? To know what you would be like without it, without those drugs, right? When drugs are powerful things. I mean, they can knock you under, they can wake you up, they can make you drool, they can lobotomize you, they can keep you up for a week straight. I mean, it is very difficult, and they can keep you to sleep for a month. You know, it's a very powerful thing. So it's hard to say I'm absolutely mentally normal when I'm under the influence of even give someone alcohol every day, keep them drunk for a month. What happens to them? And that's a legal drug. You know. So I feel it for you, you know, and I'd love to see you be drug sober so you can really know where you stand and start making a life for yourself again. And if it would be great if you had a different doctor, maybe it would help more proactively work with you, because it seems like your present experience has been more so adversarial. And if it's about mental health and getting better, then in my mind, shouldn't it be more cooperative, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Leave this with me. We'll have another Zoom another time, okay? I just want to get this shared with a friend of mine and see if we can give this some legs here or there, okay? And then we'll see if we can set up another time. It's great that your worker was able to set up this time together, and I look forward to doing it again. Okay?
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hang in there, my friend. Hang in there, okay?
Thanks.
Okay. Take care. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.